All right. Well, welcome to Philadelphia, everyone. Welcome to Outpost. For everyone here, since it's a Friday, who's this is their first stop for anything? No? All right. So everyone's gotten something else of Outpost in already. So we're not setting one up to fail here for the panel. All right. Well, welcome to the Foundations and Pillars of the Halo Community panel. This panel is going to be all about the start and where the Halo community has come and gone from, and the influence Halo has had on the community, and how the community has had an impact on Halo. So I am Dustin Pettigrew. I go by Duststorm online. I am the owner and host of a podcast called Podtacular, which is a weekly Halo podcast. We cover anything and everything from official news sources to community content, events, happenings, contests, tournaments, all that kind of stuff.
And I'm David Fuchs. I am one half of ForwardUntoDawn.com, which is a generally lore-focused site. We have a podcast, Forward Unto Dawn Podcast, and we wrote kind of the book on the Halo community. Community evolved. Woo, ah. Yes.
Hi, I'm Zach. I do things for people. Specifically, regarding Halo, I am the division PR officer, and basically what that means is any fun information you see from the 405th that's posted on social media, that's in some way goes through me. And on top of that, I do crazy armor-related things in cosplay, and that's what the 405th does in general as well. We are here to teach and let people know how to build the crazy Halo armor in real life, which is kind of amazing.
Hi, I'm Sal Salerno. I'm HaloFanForLife. I have a blog that's of the same name, HaloFanForLife.com. I cover most things, although I'm probably mostly known for my toy reviews of Mega Bloks, Mattel, formerly McFarlane, and that kind of stuff.
Hello, my name is John Glenn. I go by Silver, also known as the Halo Completionist on YouTube. I make a bunch of guides for really any Halo achievement. It's a place like a hub for all Halo achievements. Just focus on that. And then I also am one of the hosts on the Halo Conversationalist podcast, which is a lore-focused podcast. And one of my co-hosts is actually in the audience right now. There he is, King Richard back there. And yeah, we're a lore-focused podcast. We went through the lore as it was released, pretty much. So it's like a logical order to follow it. If you just wanted to kind of get caught up with the story again, or you just want to hear somebody else read it or recap it to you instead of diving into the books yourself. So it's kind of a book club in that regard.
I will attest to I heavily rely on your podcast for whenever we do our own book shows. So I'll listen to your episodes before we do ours just to make sure I didn't miss anything in my read through. So that's who we are. So we're going to start off with the birth of the Halo community. For anyone who was in Orlando, we would have gotten to meet who is considered the godfather of the Podtacular community, Claude Herrera, and he had lots of wise words of wisdom. Unfortunately, you don't have necessarily that old wisdom, but you have enough wisdom, I think, on this panel to kind of get your fill full. So most people know that the birth of the Halo community probably was started on a site called Bungie.org. It's a fan site for fans of the Bungie developer who ended up making Halo. And then the announcement came in 1999 for Halo, and that kind of was the first initial community presence was on Bungie.org. And slowly over time, we've gotten so many different pockets in different places to call home in our community. And I think kind of evident as by this panel here, one of the really cool things about Halo is just the diversity and the multifaceted community that has spawned from Halo. Just seeing the different variety here, I think everyone has their own story on how they kind of got involved with Halo. I know for me, it was around Halo 1 2003 time, seeing episodes of Red vs. Blue and having friends that had it. For the rest of the panel, how did you guys get your start in the Halo community? We'll just go down the row.
Yeah, I got started at halo.bungie.org. That's why I'm repping the shirt. Yeah, and it was something that I didn't have an Xbox from 2003 to 2011 because mine broke, and then I never got around to getting another one. So the Halo community I was just sort of like, hey, that was a cool thing to do. Participated online, reading all the books and stuff without actually being able to play the games. I still edit a lot of the Wikipedia articles on Halo. So if you've read them, I probably wrote something you read. And then 2010, we started Forward Unto Dawn just to sort of fill in the gap left by Ascendant Justice, which, if you don't know, was sort of the original Halo lore site. Both of the guys who ended up running it, one of them is now at Bungie, and the other is still at 343. So they were one of the original fans turned developers.
So for me, it started back when Halo 1 actually released their demo, or I should say Bungie released their demo for Halo 1 on PC ages and ages ago. I think it was probably 2005, I would presume, something around there. And I actually stepped back. I didn't play Halo for ages and ages and ages until I got my own 360. And then I saw a lot of people, building Halo armor. And at one point, I recall actually saying in my cosplay time, I'm not going to ever build armor. This isn't going to happen. I'm not going to do it. It looks too complicated. And then I just had one of those, you know what? This can't be that difficult. And oops, 5 years later, here we are. And that's basically my story and how I really got involved with the Halo community as a whole.
Well, when I joined the Corps, we didn't have any fancy Samantha tanks. We had sticks. 2 sticks and a rock for the whole platoon. And we had to share the rock. All right. That's a little bit of Johnson. Maybe I'll do some later.
One of the best quotes from Halo, arguably.
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. So for me, as far as getting into the Halo community, I mean, I've been playing the game since the very beginning. But it was around the time of Halo 3. Bungie had an article up on their site, and they were promoting different groups. And there was a group that looked pretty cool. I thought I would try them out, join them. I did join them, and there was a couple of people that were trying to join that group as well, and they didn't get picked. So I became friends with those folks. I was trying to usher them into the group that I had just joined, and it wasn't working. So they split off. They created their own group. They asked me to join them, and I was kind of like, well, I just joined this group, so what do I do? Well, I helped them. I helped build their site. That one was called Rated Mature. And unfortunately, since then, they've kind of dissolved. But I still have friends from that time. And a few years later, I decided to start my own blog. I wanted to basically share my thoughts on Halo, from my own perspective. I was doing reviews, like I said, product reviews for Halo stuff. And that was on a different site, though. And some of the admins kind of made some decisions I wasn't happy about. That kind of stuff happens. So I started my own blog, and that was 7-8 years ago now, I think. And so I've been actively blogging since then. It was everything, everything at first. Lately, like I said, I've been doing more product review kind of stuff. But certainly as Infinite gets closer, I'll be doing a lot more of everything for Halo. I've had my own podcast, actually. Twice. I've had 2 different podcasts before. I do have a yearly LAN. In fact, Dust Storm came to the first LAN that was held in Pittsburgh. That's where I'm from. And we were lucky enough to have Ghosty Ami come to that one. So if you all are familiar with Halo Pro players, Ghosty Ami is a champion. So it was extremely cool to have him and Dust come to the first LAN. You remember that, right, Dust?
Yeah, I do.
And afterwards, we went to a place called Permani. So if you're ever in Pittsburgh, I highly suggest it. It's the best sandwich in town. But that's pretty much how I got my start, and then continued on from there.
Cool. Silver.
I got my start somewhat reluctantly into Halo, actually.
There's always one.
That does happen,
I was back in high school, like 20 years ago, whenever it was, when Halo came out. I was in a band and I would go to my drummer's house to practice, and we very shortly after practice started, we just decided to start playing Halo. And I was like, guys, we got to practice. And he's like, no, we're playing Halo. So we played Halo most band practices turned into just Halo sessions. So that, obviously, I grew to love Halo and got my own Xbox and everything. And I wasn't really an active member of the Halo community until like 5 years ago. I was looking for just random guides for Halo on YouTube or Google or anywhere really, and I noticed there were some guides out there that were pretty good, but there wasn't really a central hub for just all the Halo games or anything. So I kind of took it upon myself to create that space on YouTube. So that's how that got started, and that was before they announced the achievements for Master Chief Collection. So I thought I was just going to be doing easy achievements, making videos, and then they announced Lasso was going to be a thing. So I'm like, I guess I got to get good at that. And so I've got a bunch of those guides up now too. And a couple years later, a few friends of mine decided to start a podcast as well. And we kind of launched the episodes on the YouTube channel as well to kind of jumpstart the podcast. And here we are, years later now almost.
Thanks, gentlemen. So we obviously got a very wide range of different introductions into Halo, different areas of interest. And it all started somewhere. It all started with Halo 1 and a general, kind of a little more tight-knit interest into Halo. So there's kind of three main aspects that really started with the Halo community. First being the lore, the really cool story to go with the game. And it was just one of those good games on the Xbox that was kind of came out of nowhere. In-depth story, good character development. Everyone fell in love with the lore, and I think pretty much everyone on this stage loves the lore to some degree. The next thing is just the LAN party staple. For anyone who is, I guess, kind of right now probably in their late 20s, early 30s, Halo is probably one of those staple LAN party games that you would lug your Xboxes over, lug TVs over, and get a good LAN party of Halo going, whether it was Halo 1 or Halo 2. And the competitive multiplayer was also another big aspect. There wasn't a lot of games back then where you had something that was so compelling for campaign and multiplayer, and Halo was kind of one of those first games to really nail that 30 seconds of fun for campaign and really have a competitive multiplayer experience that has survived to this day. So there's quite a few things that enable communities to thrive and foster for the most part. Most of that is just the diversity in experience. Right now, Halo is at a point where there's so many different ways to consume Halo, to experience Halo, whether it's the original multiplayer or lore stuff to now the collector stuff or completing all the achievements and challenges or building armor. There's a lot of different ways to actually get involved with the Halo community. And it's all surrounded by a lore that is mysterious and futuristic that has a lot of just that kind of enticing pull to it. The revolutionary gameplay mechanics, I mentioned the 30-second first-person shooter. Bungie is also known for the golden triangle of shoot melee grenades. And then the couch co-op experience was something that was really a Halo staple, and to this day remains so. And then the evolution of the game, where we've gone through several iterations of the game. As far as first-person shooters go, we have 8 games, 2 real-time strategy, 2 top-down shooters, and a couple of myriad of other ones as well. So there's, in addition to just like the different aspects of Halo, there's different ways to experience Halo. And it's not just the games either. You have books that help. So many books. I think there's 20 plus books now, getting close to 30.
Yeah,
Silver probably knows the count.
I've lost count. I used to know.
I think it's 27.
So it's not just the game that has evolved; it's also the content around the game as well. And Halo was also one of the first developers to really have that community developer relationship. You had a few companies that would actually take the time to interact with their community, actually go out there and play with them. But Halo with Bungie was kind of one of the first ones to really reach out there. And each one of us, I believe, has our own experience with talking with staff at 343. They know who we are. We know who they are. And it's just a really cool experience to have that recognition and acknowledgement of like, oh, I've seen your stuff. I know who you are. So there's kind of that give and take where if you give to in the community of Halo, the studio is kind of really going to give back.
Yeah, I can pretty much attest to that because I started as a PR officer for the 405th in 2017, and it was a pretty much instant. They were like, "Oh, this is the 405th we're talking about. They know who we are." And as 14-year-old Zach would just freaked out internally. He's like, "This is not something that I was used to," but it's kind of grown to be this really one unique experience, but also helpful for community building on the 405th side as well, because there is this pretty much direct connection between us and 343, which is we're grateful for, of course. That's what enabled behind you all here at Outpost Discovery Philly. We've got our folks and our own area to call our own to talk about cosplay and Halo Arma. I didn't think that would ever happen, and certainly in my time in the 405th. But here we are.
Yeah. It's really cool to just have that constant interaction between the studio and the community. And there's a big part of that which social media has enabled, but there's still just a really, even before all that came up, before the Facebooks, before the Twitters, Bungie's Hump Day challenges. Those were probably one of the more well-known ways that Bungie as a developer interacted with their community. And that was back in the clan days. Does anyone here remember the clan days and have any clan stories they want to share? No? No takers? Wasn't cool enough.
Oops, sorry.
So that's one of the things that has really kept Halo, I think, as a staple, and having that relationship with the community continue to thrive. So there's a lot of diversity in Halo as it exists today. Competitive gameplay is one of the main avenues of that. You have MLG, which started the competitive Halo scene, and that has since kind of transitioned to a couple of different competitive organizations, and it's back in the hands of MLG now with HCS Grassroots as well. But competitive is not just what you see in MLG. Competitive is also speedrunning. It's how fast can you finish the campaign. It's also Griffball. It's the best sport since itself in the Halo franchise. And that's another example of the community coming up with something and it being adopted officially as canon within the Halo franchise. So another kind of give and take, which we were supposed to have Goose Cheka, who was one of the community managers for Griffball Hub, which was kind of like the premier Griffball league for 7 or 8 years. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it today, but there's a lot of influence from different corners of the community, and that's probably one of the more big staples of the Halo community. There's also casual gameplay. You have people that will forge maps and mini games, and you go into Action Sack or Super Fiesta. I mean, I think everyone has their own preferred game mode here.
Sure.
What's everyone's favorite game mode to play as far as like a casual perspective? Anyone can jump in.
I mean,
Casual? Ooh.
I mean, personally, as someone that's not great in like regular Slayer, I prefer my Super Fiesta with a group of people, or a big team battle with a full fire team. Personally,
Yeah.
I love Firefight. For me, it's just a way to let off some steam. You don't have to worry about putting your try-hard pants on, Just relax, shoot some aliens, kick some butt. So that's one mode that I really enjoy. I'm glad that it was introduced into Halo 5, even though it's a little different. It's bigger. So that's one way that I enjoy casual. I as well enjoy Super Fiesta. Now, they just added a whole bunch of maps into Husky Raid. So
Oh yeah.
if that's still going, you got to play it. Something like 23 new maps, and just about every single one of them are fantastic. It's fun. If you're not familiar with Husky Raid, that's CTF with Super Fiesta. So it's quite a mix of things, and it's a lot of fun. And again, with those amount of maps, there's so many different ways to play the same game type that it feels fresh and exciting. So that's what I like casual-wise.
This is a good question. I was going to say HCS, and then I realized the question was about casual gameplay.
I mean, hey, if that's casual for you, then that's casual for you.
I guess it is. I just roll into HCS, and I'm one of those sweaty kids online in that playlist. So
you can be the one that backpacks us when we play Halo together.
Castle Wars, mostly just because so many people seem to hate it. It's like there's the love-hate group, and I love that. I mean, that's what I think is great about Halo is that you have so many different, like there are the people who hate Griffball and then people who play it competitively, that you can have that sort of breadth in one game, that you have people running around smashing each other versus the super sweaty stuff. It's really amazing.
Castle Wars is exciting. It is a lot of fun, and if you are trying to get that commendation for mongoose kills,
Oh, jeez.
that's the one to get. So anytime you see that pop up, yeah, definitely go for that one. But I enjoy it, and sometimes a lot of games end up in a tie. But to enjoy, just slashing, not just people, but the mongoose and or mongooses, I guess it is.
Mongai, mongoose, mongooses.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it may be.
The
at this
debate's
point.
still out there on that one.
Yeah. And but especially if you can get a warthog when it's filled up, oh, that's just fantastic. But it's a lot of fun too. So yeah, do yourselves a favor if you haven't tried all these different game types, and especially if you're somebody that's more of the competitive player and haven't played as much casual, do yourself a favor and try them. You never know, you might actually find a mode that you just really, really enjoy, and you might even be really good at too. So, open yourselves up. That's something that I think even some of us probably, we kind of have our narrow focus of things that we do for Halo and for the community. But as far as gameplay goes, don't limit yourself. Try and open that up. Enjoy every aspect of Halo.
Yeah. So this big next blob is creative arts, and that has really exploded over the years of Halo. Talking with Claude, I didn't actually know this, but there was a lot of music that came out originally in the early days of the Halo community. I knew lore was a big interest. I knew there was some fan stories out there, but apparently music, and I mean, there's almost everyone probably knows who Marty O'Donnell is. Is kind of the founder of kind of the tune of Halo, the sound of Halo, and just the inspiration that a lot of people got through that, I guess, was a lot bigger than I had realized. So you have people making music, you have people writing fan fiction, you have people dressing up as characters in game.
No joke. No joke.
Some of the later stuff, though, has been enabled by additional features in the game, like Forge art.
Oh, yeah.
People doing concept art. And then I guess this wasn't necessarily at the beginning of the Halo community, but now with the Unreal Engine and a couple other game engines out there, people are going out there and making their own fan games. There's a lot of different projects out there, like Installation 01, Project Contingency, Sins of the Prophets. There's just a lot of different games out there that are being made under the guise of Halo, but they're being made by the community. Machinima is another big one. All the little short films, Red versus Blue, the Codex, Sponsors versus Freeloaders,
Spriggs back in Halo 3.
RB and the Chief.
RB and the Chief.
Another big one.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
And that's another avenue. There's so many different artistic methods of expression within the Halo community. It's has its own freaking slide. You also have the universe and lore. Pretty much this whole panel is probably contained of lore nerds. So you got the huge focus on that. You have Halopedia, which is a wiki that's dedicated to Halo. You have Forward Unto Dawn taking over the mantle of Ascendant Justice and doing a lot of the lore fiction there. Also, Halo Conversationalists taking on that mantle as well. And Podcast Evolve is another lore panel. So there's
Podcast Evolve. We got a guy right here.
Yeah. You got Oren right there. There's so many different that just shows you how interesting and intricate the lore is, that there's 3 different podcasts dedicated just to the lore of Halo. It's crazy. You also have I kind of put speedrunners in here twice, but speedrunner, yeah, running through the lore. I think it's actually a leftover.
It's all right. I don't mind being in there twice. It's cool.
Also, a quick shout out to Archive Installation and Halo Alpha. That's actually what the Halo Wikia turned into. But and then the all-encompassing communities, you have the Halo subreddit, you have HBO still kind of being the home of Halo communities. You have Ultimate Halo, which there's a couple of people actually here from Ultimate Halo at Philadelphia, which is pretty cool. And the Halo Hub as well. And then this kind of goes into Halo Fan for Life's on my corner, but there's also the collector side of things. Oh, yeah. There's figures, there's building sets, there's legendary editions, there's a whole slew of things. Kinds. There's jerseys.
I mean, yeah, everything, and anything that you want for collecting. I mean, we're lucky enough that Halo's grown so big. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to John Friend and James Monosmith. Both of those fellows are on the consumer products team. They're here. So if you get a chance to meet them, make sure you do and thank them, because they're the ones that bring you all the things that we can get, be it t-shirts, toys, there's the posters, the loot crate stuff, there's just a slew of stuff. So if there's a focus of things that you like to collect, chances are Halo's got something for you.
Yep, it could be something as simple as a lapel pin or a t-shirt to something as intricate as one of the most expensive Mega Blocks or Mega Constructs set to buy, or even some of like the older statues. So there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of money that you can spend on that stuff too. So Halo's obviously had a big impact not on only the community but the gaming industry. Revolutionary gameplay, the 30 seconds of fun, the golden triangle, first-person shooter on console being something that pioneered that on the Xbox. There's been a lot of things that Halo as a franchise has really influenced in the gaming industry. And there's a little bit of that influence in the community as well. There's the tools that Bungie and 343 have made or continue to support within the Halo games themselves and the Halo community. So ways of expression like Forge and custom games to keep experiences fresh within matchmaking, continuing the expansion of the Halo universe with books, comics, and other external media like the movies. And then the games have really evolved with the times. It's been one of the games that has helped develop some of the experiences that we have today in a lot of common first-person shooters. And there's just a huge different avenues for people to consume Halo content. We've talked about just the many ways and many different areas that people can get involved with the Halo community. And it's really interesting to see how diverse the community is, but then how supportive of that diversity everyone has.
It's also worth pointing out that really, thanks to the Halo community, probably has one of the biggest impacts in video gaming, just because they influenced Halo, in which case Halo influenced everything else. Like, to think about Halo 2 and how groundbreaking the multiplayer was, like the next generation, all the stuff that Halo 2 had was pretty much standard. And then with Halo 3's features, the next consoles all come with share buttons and stuff, because what Halo 3 did was so groundbreaking. And so, like, how the community is fed back and the demand for those features has really influenced how we think about what we do with video games now.
Can I interject something here real quick?
Sure.
I just wanted to throw this in. I'm not sure if it necessarily fits here, but I'll just throw it in. If there are any of you out there who you're really passionate about something, whether it be collecting, whether it be armor or lore or whatever, get involved. Find maybe one of the organizations or websites and maybe get started there. But if you have something that you want to do specifically, don't hold back. Don't think, I can't do it, or somebody else is already established and they're doing it. Go for it. There's nothing holding you back. And we, whether, I don't like to say I'm a community leader, but we as community leaders as well, we'll be glad to help you. We should all be open to helping each other grow, and expand the Halo community. So if there's something that you want to get involved with, do it. I will say, at least for myself, I started learning who the different folks were at 343 and finding out what they did specifically to see if there was a way that maybe they could help me promote what I do. And then in turn, I would promote, of course, Halo. And over the years, I've grown some really good friendships out of that. And I'm talking real friendships. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. The folks at 343 are fantastic. They really are. Get to know them, and they'll be all the more willing to help you.
I'll just go ahead and second that, just based on my literal first experience at PAX East 2017. Shortly after I became PR officer, the current PR officer for the 405th, so the community team, specifically Brian and John, once I introduced myself, they just open arms, and it was very surreal for me to just be, oh yeah, I've got this new title and I do this and this is what I do over at the 405th, and all of a sudden, hey Arma, hey Zach, we're thinking about doing this. This is an idea for cosplay things, and what do you think? And thank you for coming out and doing all the stuff that you guys do. And I'm just flabbergasted, blown away. Mm-hmm. And that's something that just being involved with the community on both sides, I have to agree with Sal. Just go and do what you want to do, because people will actually understand what you're doing,
and we're all fans. So none of us here is any more important than any of you. No. We are all fans. So if you find anybody that's trying to get that kind of attitude, give them a little smack around for me. We're all fans. So I would hope all of us are approachable. I'm sure we all are, but again, just go for it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to third that. When I jumped into doing the YouTube guides, I was kind of bracing myself. I'm on the internet now, going to get all those hateful comments, but 99% of the comments I get are very supportive. Like, hey, thanks, I love the guide, or it was very helpful, or whatever. Even more than 99% of the comments or something like that. And you really just do have to jump in. I was thinking about the idea of making a YouTube channel for a year, maybe 2 years. And it's just something you kind of just have to jump into and start doing. I probably invested less than $100 to start off, because I bought some video software and I bought the capture card to capture the game footage. And I used my sister's karaoke microphone for the Xbox 360 game Disney Sing It. So that's why my audio sounds like garbage for my first set of videos.
It's still creative,
but yeah,
though.
You just got to kind of jump in and just start, because maybe when you first start off, it's not as great to be, but the only way you're going to get better and start making better and better stuff is to just keep doing it.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. I don't know about you guys, but when I got involved and, when I started doing my website, I never did it with the intention of becoming popular. I did it because it was a passion. And for my website, my motto is, it's by a Halo fan for Halo fans. Whether fame came with that, which it still really hasn't, but whether that came with it or whether I got recognized by anybody, it didn't matter. For me, it was just, being being able to share my passion. And if I happen to reach a few people out there and they enjoyed it, cool, great. I'm certainly not as big as Dust over there. Well, maybe girth-wise, but not height-wise. But again, I didn't get into this to be, the top guy for doing Halo reviews or anything like that. I just did it to get my opinions out there and see if anybody else enjoyed what I had to say, and just enjoy it. So once again, I think, like I said, for all of us, just go out there and do what you want. Enjoy it. If you have a passion for Halo, no matter the area of it, do it.
Yeah, and one thing I really found out when we were doing the book, there's a guy, artist, Garrett Post, who did the background of what there, and he sent us like one of his first bits of fan art was a picture of the map Sandtrap from Halo 3, and it looks like utter MS Paint garbage. And like that's the thing, like we still have our first podcasts up. They're terrible. Don't ever listen to them. We sound like our home. You're going to do terrible stuff. But the great thing about a community is, the Halo community especially, is that's where people like encourage you. And now Garrett does cool stuff like that. He does concept art now professionally. Like, you have to start somewhere, and there's going to be an audience of people who can help encourage you.
Regarding the word encouragement, that comes in different facets, folks. Whether it's friendly encouragement or trolling or hatefulness, whatever. The thing is, listen to what they're saying, or read what they're saying, and try and get beyond whatever nastiness and see what they're really trying to say. And you'll actually find some good information in there about how to improve your blog, your podcast, whatever that it is that you have out there. So, if you're willing to open up your mind and your ears and your eyes to what people are saying to you, then you'll have an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. So now for the community's impact on Halo. There's been a lot of different things, mostly through kind of tools that Halo has enabled the community, but then the community takes that, transforms it, and then gives it back. And the primary example of that is, I think one of the first ones that comes to mind for me is zombies in Halo 2. It's an honor system-based mode, but it turned to be an official mode in Halo 3. And then there was Griffball, which was a funny comment made in Red versus Blue, and then it became a official game mode in Halo. So there's that kind of impact that the community has. But then there is the other different facets of it. So MLG, the competitive players, actually refining the multiplayer experience for Halo, seeing where there's issues that can make the gameplay more refined, robust, and make that skill gap even better. So the top of the top is really shining through in their ability to actually play and master the game. And then fans developing the custom game modes like zombies and kind of race in Halo 3. They reinvented race. And just everything that you can do with Forge is something that has helped keep even matchmaking playlists fresh. So you have Husky Raid, which Sal mentioned earlier. You have Super Fiesta. You have all these different game modes that have been created by the community, and then the developer is taking that, absorbing them into their matchmaking hoppers, and keeping the experience fresh enough to keep people coming back. There is a statistic for the month of May this year that there were almost 500,000 unique logins to Halo 5, which for a game that's 4 years old, that's a pretty impressive number. So the fact that there's just that much community content that helps keep the experience fresh and thriving is not something to overlook. So what makes the Halo community thrive? We've already talked a little bit about being accepting, making sure that the communities that you're a part of are welcoming, that you're all inclusive to people that would be interested in what you're interested in. Being accessible through social media is another big one, especially in today's day and age. Having a social media presence where people can connect with you, that can share your passion and actually see what you're doing in the community, actually see the impact that you're having and just kind of the attraction that you have to everyone else that might be looking for something similar, whether it's playing competitively or going through the campaign or anything like that. Finding someone or some community out there that has a similar interest that you have is a good way to get involved. Partnering with other similar communities. So we have a bunch of lore people up here, and we all probably have talked in some way or form or another. And I know from a podcast perspective, we share each other's content. We make sure that we don't single ourselves out. We make sure that everyone else is aware that there are other Halo communities. So everyone's not going to have just one specific interest. Everyone has a complex combination of different interests. So being able to share that experience with our communities helps bolster those communities and really has kind of a tight-knit relationship between the different ones.
Speaking of that, you and I, we got together first from playing Spartan Ops.
Yeah, we did.
You know, and
we did a little mini series. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a whole big series for 10 weeks straight. We went
it was
through
for each chapter. Yeah.
Yeah,
for
and
each
we
episode.
played all the missions. We talked about the different enemies and some strategies and all that. And that's how Dust and I became friends. And that was a good time. I enjoyed that.
Time.
You know,
and I will emphasize that last bullet up there, which has kind of already been echoed by I think everyone at some point. Time, effort, and engagement with your community. If you are going to be a community influencer, if you want to be someone that is out there to make a change within the community, it's going to take time and effort, and you're going to have to engage with people. You can't be standoffish. You can't be isolated. I know there's plenty of introverts within the gaming community, but you got to be able to be available, be able to interact with your fans and other people within your communities if you really want to have a community that thrives. That's a big part of it. So we'll go a little bit into a little more detail on what everyone's communities are. So we'll go ahead and start with Fuchs. Tell us a little bit about Forward Unto Dawn.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, we're a lore focused community. Started around 2010, March-ish, I guess. 3 of us originally. Now it's just 2. But we do the podcast where we go through all the novels and such like that. We do analysis articles. If you're one of those people who thinks that Halo 3 Prophet of Truth is totally different from Halo 2 Prophet of Truth, we have an article just for you that Grim really liked. So that's my headcanon for explaining those 2 characters as the same person. And we got our podcast, and then our book, The Community Evolved, we kickstarted back in 2012. Yeah, showed off. And now you can get it on free online. You can download an ebook. I mean, I guess you can order a book if you really like physical media. But we interviewed some 30-something people to just do sort of a broad overview of all the different communities that we've been talking about. And so there's a lot of great interviews, especially if you are a newer fan and wasn't around back in the old days. 2 sticks in a rock. Yeah, goes into a lot of that. And we're going to be doing some podcast updates to that. So you can check that out. Communityofawl.com.
Before we move on, I do want to highly recommend this book. If you want a good in-depth history and look at what the Halo community was like for the first 10 years, the first decade of Halo, this does an amazing job. And I actually used this book when developing part of these slides, this presentation, as source material. I didn't plagiarize, although I didn't. But I highly recommend going and checking this out. It's a wonderful resource if you are interested in any kind of knowledge on how communities look like back in the day, what really was used to get communities started. This is a great resource. All right, moving on. 405th.
Hi, again. So we started back in 2006, I should say. I was going to say 2010, but that's not right. More recently, we've really been getting quite involved with all of the, of course, here at Halo Outpost Discovery, but we've had individuals just our regiments, which are oh goodness, Singapore, Canada. I was going to say Canada, which is not right.
America's hacked.
Yeah, right. Colonial. Geez, I'm going to try and remember all these off the top of my
Southern,
head.
Pacific,
Southern, Southwestern,
Midwestern.
Pacific, European, Australia.
Is there a South American one?
There's Mexico, which is
Okay.
kind of, sort of.
I think there's
It's-
11 total, right? There's
Do what?
11 regiments. I think there's 11 total.
There's technically a group of people in New Zealand, but we don't quite have a regiment out there.
Just throw them under Australia.
Yeah. So we're international. Something on the order of, at this point, over 40,000 people like our social media, or I think we've got 40,000 people on the forums in some fashion. Over 300 people in Armor that have built Armor that are deployed, which is just a process to have someone look at your Armor via pictures and say, "Hey, you can update this. This is a thing you can do." But then on top of that, we've got the largest Halo file repository on the internet at this point. So anybody that's built or wears Armor at this point most likely has at least gone to our website once to see what files are available. And that's kind of a little feather in our cap, as it were, that we get to interact so closely with cosplayers just across the board, whether it be someone that's actively, continuously involved with the Halo community like myself, or some of the cosplayers that are here at HOD, or just somebody that makes a set of armor just to make a set of armor and say, "Hey, I built Halo armor. That's kind of cool." And then going on from there, it's just been a ride, as it were, and we continue along that path from here on, trying to do our own gaming nights and tutorials and the like.
And I think you have a new podcast, Buckets to Boots, right? Is that a podcast or is that
It's
something
not.
else?
Well, it's not
Or
really
a show?
It's more like I wouldn't call it a podcast. It's more like a tutorial.
Okay.
To get everybody kind of hyped for our HOD presence in general. Actually, you will see him roaming around, and he will probably hear me when I say this. Turbo Charizard's kind of running around here. He's actually one of, thank goodness, he is part of the social media management team over at the 405th, because goodness sakes, multiple pages, multiple social media accounts. There is absolutely no way I could do a tenth of what we do without him. And I know I'm eternally grateful, and I know that Division as a whole, the international staff of the 405th, is grateful for his help and support as well. Because a good chunk of what we've done here recently, especially with Bucket to Boots, it's a tutorial from the beginning. So if you have a how do I pattern? Well, there's a Bucket to Boots episode where we talk about patterning. And there's a Bucket to Boots episode where we talk about actually, doing electronics and that kind of thing as well. So anything that you want to know, at least on a general basis at this point, is online, as well as the forum itself, which is just a wealth of knowledge as well. So it thankfully goes back all the way through. I don't know if it goes quite all the way back to 2006, but it certainly goes back through 08, 09, and all the way up to current day information as well. And if you're into or you're curious about that kind of stuff, visit us. It's 405th.com. Kind of easy. Got questions? The 405th is going to be here all weekend. So if you see us in Armor and you have a question, what is this made of? How did you do this? How long did it take? What kind of material did you make this out of? We are here. So give a shout. We are here for that kind of information as well.
All right, Halo Fan for Life.
Hey. Well, my website is HaloFanForLife.com. Like I say, mostly what I'm known for is doing reviews, but I cover everything. But beyond the site itself, of course, like probably everybody up here, I have a Spartan company, also Halo Fan for Life. That's one thing that I do want to mention too. If you decide to get into the community and you've got an idea for something. And I hate to use these words, but it is what it is. You want to come up with a brand identity, and HaloFanForLife was not taken, and I thought it sounded pretty cool. So I checked to make sure, is it available on Twitter? Is it available on Facebook? Is it available on Instagram? Was it available as a website name? And sure enough, all that was. So if you're looking to get something for yourself started, do that research first, and see if there's a name that you like that's available everywhere, so that you can claim that, and you've got the same identity everywhere you go. Believe me, it makes it very easy then. Yeah. When you say, well, hey, I'm HaloFanForLife, and you can find me everywhere as that.
Learn from our mistake. We chose Forward Unto Dawn before they came out with the Halo 4 promotional miniseries, so that totally hosed us.
But so again, so my site, it's not just the site. Again, we have the Spartan Company. I do hold a yearly LAN, and in fact, several members out here have been to the LAN. We got Penn's Halo over here. Yeah. My man, stand up here again. He's from Podcast Evolve here. All right. But I hold this annual LAN. It's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I mentioned before that Dustin came to the first one. It's expanded some since then. I do hold it at my home, and I'm hoping that next year, as Infinite gets closer, that I'll actually be able to have it in a bigger location. I will say this. Now, I'm not salty, but a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to come up with Spartan.com, which was to become an annual Halo convention. And well, 343 got an idea, and I don't know if they got it from me or not, but it just so happens that a lot of the stuff they have here is the stuff I was thinking about. But I'm not salty. I'm really not. No, I'm actually very happy that they have this going on. This is great, because they're doing something that is by far bigger than I could have ever done on my own. My hopes is still, though, that I'd still want to have a Halo convention. Of course, we can't call it Halo, and I'm surprised I didn't get in trouble when I used the name HaloFanForLife. But thank goodness. But by the way, we got to talk, because I need your guys to come to this whenever I start doing it.
So fun fact, Sal, I'm not that far from you, and neither is a good subset of Colonial.
Oh,
a good chunk of us are in Pennsylvania. I'm about 2 hours north of you.
Well, then.
We'll have to talk after this, I think.
All right, sounds good. So, again, if you want to find me or the blog anywhere, if you just type in HaloFanForLife, no spaces or anything, doesn't have to be upper or lowercase or anything. You can find me there. Please feel free to follow. I'll follow back. I enjoy, discussions back and forth. Don't just do likes either, folks. I mean, I enjoy it, but I really enjoy talking with you folks.
All right, Halo Completionist.
I think I'm realizing right now I'm the only one who doesn't have a website, because I'm just based on YouTube. But youtube.com/Halo Completionist. I guess I'll claim HaloCompletionist.com shortly after this panel.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully it's not taken by then.
But it's like I was mentioning earlier, it's basically a hub for all Halo achievements, including all the tough ones. Like a lot of people, general achievement hunting channels will cover like Easter egg achievements, or just like general completion, or the kind of the easier ones to get. But I have like the lasso achievement guides. I have the speedrunning. It's kind of, my speedrun guides are kind of like a in between like a normal player and a speedrunner. I kind of try to bring you into that. It's like an intermediate level speedrunner. So you could get the achievement at least for under 3 hours for all the different Halo games in the Master Chief Collection. So I try to pick the speedrun strategies that are easier to do, and then for like ones that are really tough to pull off, if I can, I'll send you like an alternate way that's kind of more user friendly for the majority of people. But yeah, it's just a resource for people looking to get that 100% completion for one of the games or all the games. If you're shooting for that. So definitely check that out if you're looking for some help.
I would add for Silver's videos specifically, a lot of the speedrunners back in the day for like Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 4 were definitely a lot more in depth, like a lot more with the kind of the terminology that the speedrunners use. But Silver actually does a pretty good job of trying to make sure that if you're watching his stuff, you're not completely getting consumed by all the speedrunning lingo, and actually kind of slows down and talks you through why you're doing things and different ways to do it. So his videos are definitely a good resource if you're looking to do the speedrunning or completion. And quick question for you. Have you 100% completed all the achievements?
Oh, yeah. I have
go.
100% of the achievements in every version of all the games, because some have multiple versions. Like Spartan Assault has 4 different versions. I have 100% commendations, so Reach 4 and 5, and I have the max rank in all the games. So Inheritor, SR 130, SR 152, and Halo 5. Halo Wars 2, I have SR 99. I think that's the highest.
Do you have the Achilles armor and helmet?
I do have Achilles armor, yeah.
And the
Halo
helmet?
Wars 2, they bumped
Was
it up,
that?
I think.
And the
to
helmet
99.
too?
Yeah, the helmet too.
Oh.
Of course I do. I'm a Halo completionist.
If you're
If you
looking for a Spartan company and you haven't got the helmet yet, I'm your guy. We're close.
We're still working on it. We have a ways to go.
Oh, that's another thing.
We
too.
do as well. Like we tend to build armor in real life instead of.
Yeah.
That's
It
a
just
good-
happens to be, where a lot of our folks are. Well, you're exactly right. It's like, but
Dang your
a lot of our
Achilles.
folks just end up building armor and just end up not having a lot of time for Halo in online, unfortunately, including myself. Not that I'm any good.
You
so.
guys live Halo. You don't just play Halo. You
I
live
mean,
Halo.
I mean, that is like one of our mottos is like build your armor, live
Yeah,
Halo.
you don't need to get Achilles helmet and armor. You can make your own.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
and by the way, I really want to add here that like with Podtacular, I game with them very frequently, usually at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Frag and
And,
Fridays. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's enjoyable that some of my guys, we can come on over and we're joining them, and we're doing community things together. So again, don't limit yourself. If you find one group you like, it doesn't mean you have to stick to them. I made the mistake early on when I started HaloFanForLife. I kind of wanted to keep things to myself. So if anybody joined me, I wanted them to just stick with me. And he's going to attest to this. He made a friend. He made a friend in another group that eventually became Podcast Evolve, and I was a little salty about that. But you know what? It ended up being a fantastic thing because he ended up becoming the big guy with the Podcast Evolve, and
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing you grow, man. I really do. It was it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But get involved with other communities too, even if you start your own. It's a great way to network, to learn, what other people do as well, to help promote each other besides the games themselves. And in doing so, we all help to let the community grow in all aspects. So, again, just don't limit yourself.
Yep. All right. We are quickly approaching the end, but we will take a couple of questions if there is a couple of questions before we wrap up. Make it a good one, because we only got time for like 1 or 2. That's it. No questions. Wow.
Jeez.
I guess.
Oh, well, I guess, yeah, that makes it work, right?
Yeah. There we go.
We covered everything. No questions.
All right. Well, thanks to the panelists for actually taking the time to do this. Really appreciate you guys telling us about your experience with the community, and hopefully you guys learned a little about the history. We will probably be hanging around the area a little bit if you want to ask us or talk to us one-on-one for a few minutes after we take a couple pictures. But thank you for coming out, and enjoy the rest of your Outpost. Thanks, everybody.